Tonight we explore the places where ancient ritual meets the sleeping body. Practices that treated dreams as doorways, prayer as a shift schedule, temple floors as operating tables. For at least 5,000 years, human beings devised structured methods for changing consciousness through sleep, breath, and deliberate stillness. These methods weren't random. They were systematic, passed through lineage, and refined across generations. Picture a Greek pilgrim lying on a stone bench in a darkened hall sometime in the 4th century BCE. Now picture a Tibetan yogi resting in a mountain hermitage in the 12th century, and a Byzantine monk waking to chant psalms at midnight in Constantinople. These people inhabited radically different worlds, different languages, different gods, different centuries. And yet each one, without knowing it, was running the same biological experiment on the same nervous system. That's what we'll slowly move through tonight. 100 quiet observations about spiritual practices that change the body's relationship to sleep, to dreaming, and to the border between waking life and something else entirely. Some of these practices demanded years of preparation. Others demanded only a stone floor and a willingness to lie down in a dark room. We'll start in the mountains of Tibet, where a practice has been quietly handed from teacher to student for over 1,000 years. Then we'll travel to Constantinople, where monks divided the night into rotating choirs so that singing never ceased. We'll walk through the healing sanctuaries of ancient Greece, where patients slept on animal skins and waited for a god to visit them in their dreams. Along the way, we'll trace what modern neuroscience now detects in each of these traditions: the brainwave signatures, the hormonal shifts, the quiet biological machinery running beneath every prayer and every vision. You don't need to follow every detail. Let the facts arrive slowly. Let them settle into whatever space your mind has right now. The night is long. These practices are patient. Let's begin. In the Kagyu and Nyingma traditions of Tibetan Buddhism, there's a practice called milam. English speakers usually translate it as dream yoga, but that translation misses something important. Milam isn't a lucid dreaming exercise you can pick up from a book. It isn't a standalone meditation technique you practice for 20 minutes before bed. It's a complete tantric path, a sadhana, practiced alongside waking contemplation as part of a larger system of spiritual training. The system it belongs to is called the 6 Dharmas of Naropa. These 6 practices were compiled in the 11th century by the Indian Mahasiddhas Tilopa and Naropa, and they include inner heat, known as tamo, clear light, called ursul, the illusory body, julu, bardo yoga, consciousness transference, called phawa, and dream yoga itself. 6 practices, not 5, not 7, 6. Dream yoga sits among them like one room inside a larger building. You don't enter it on its own. You enter through the whole structure. Before a practitioner can start milam, 3 formal transmissions must come from a qualified lineage holder. The first is empowerment, called wang. The second is a reading transmission, called lung. The third is personal oral instruction, called tri. Without all 3, the practice is considered incomplete. You can't simply decide to begin. Naropa himself specified that for 13 generations in Tibet, the 6 yogas should be kept secret and passed exclusively as an oral tradition. Nothing written down. This structure preserved the practices across centuries, but it also meant they couldn't spread widely. The knowledge lived in the relationship between teacher and student, nowhere else. The Shampa Kagyu lineage traces its dream yoga instructions to the Tibetan Yagin Khyumpo Nelger, lived from roughly 1050 to 1140. He codified 6 distinct procedures to be performed during the dream state itself, not merely as preparation before sleep, but as actions taken while dreaming. Steps carried out inside the dream by a mind that knows it's dreaming. The goal of Milam isn't entertainment. It isn't the recreational thrill of controlling a dream. The goal is recognition, recognizing that all phenomena, both in sleep and in waking life, share a dreamlike quality. This recognition is understood as a direct path toward understanding emptiness, what the tradition calls sunyata, and toward liberation itself. Here's the thing about dream yoga that most Western accounts leave out. The tradition treats sleep as a rehearsal for death. If you can recognize that you're dreaming while you dream, the teaching holds. You can recognize the nature of experience at the moment of dying. The two thresholds, falling asleep and dying, are understood as structurally identical. Now this is where the ancient practice meets modern measurement. The prefrontal cortex, specifically the dorsolateral and ventromedial subdivisions, is the neurobiological key to both dream yoga and what Western science calls lucid dreaming. During ordinary REM sleep, this region goes quiet. It's suppressed. That's why most dreams feel real while they're happening. The part of the brain that would normally say, "Wait, this doesn't make sense," is offline. But dream yoga's techniques of daytime metacognitive practice, treating waking events as if they were dreams, questioning the solidity of experience throughout the day, appear to maintain partial activation of the prefrontal cortex even during REM sleep. The practitioner carries a habit of questioning into the dream. The brain follows. EEG studies have found a specific signature for this moment of recognition. When a dreamer becomes lucid, when the thought, "I am dreaming," arises inside the dream, there's a burst of activity in the gamma band, around 40 hertz, at frontolateral scalp electrodes. Researchers Motorolem, Voss, and Hobson documented this pattern in signal-verified lucid REM episodes. 40 hertz, a brief electrical flicker at the front of the brain. That's the measurable trace of waking up inside a dream. A 2026 narrative review confirmed that gamma activity over frontal electrodes is the electrophysiological marker of metacognition during lucid REM sleep. At the same time, alpha band synchrony between 8 and 12 hertz links frontal and parietal areas for self-reflective processing. The precuneus and the temporoparietal junction are the key parietal nodes in this circuit. What Tibetan texts call recognizing the nature of the dream is, in EEG terms, the recruitment of a frontoparietal gamma alpha network that normally stays dormant during standard REM. There's another piece worth sitting with. During lucid dreaming, beta band power, 12 to 30 hertz, drops at right central and temporoparietal areas compared to waking. This drop reflects perceptual decoupling. The brain disconnects from external sensory input while internal imagery stays vivid. Dream yoga practitioners who report seeing light during practice may be experiencing exactly this, decoupling from the outside world while the visual cortex generates its own illumination from within. And delta waves, the slow, deep oscillations between 0.5 and 4 hertz that characterize dreamless sleep, are suppressed during lucid REM. A narcolepsy study documented reduced frontocentral delta power during lucid episodes compared to non-lucid ones. Delta waves reflect neuronal off states, moments when prefrontal neurons go silent. Their suppression during lucidity means those neurons are being kept active. That's what dream yoga trains for, year after year, decade after decade, keeping the lights on in a part of the brain that normally goes dark when you fall asleep. Some practitioners claim something even more unusual. Advanced dream yoga and transcendental meditation practitioners report maintaining lucid awareness throughout the entire sleep cycle, including during deep, dreamless NREM stage 3 sleep. In 1970, at the Menninger Clinic in Kansas, a yogi named Swami Rama demonstrated something that should not have been possible under any current model of consciousness. While hooked up to an EEG, he voluntarily entered delta wave sleep, the deepest stage, where awareness is normally absent, and then recounted a nearby conversation word for word. His brain showed the electrical signature of unconsciousness, but he was aware the whole time. No current neurological model explains how he did that. The biochemistry of dream yoga maps onto what we know about REM sleep chemistry. REM is dominated by high acetylcholine and low serotonin and noradrenaline. These are the conditions under which vivid, hallucinatory dreams occur. Cholinergic neurons in the parabrachial pons, the lateral rodorsal and pedunculopontine tegmental nuclei, trigger and maintain REM sleep. Dream yoga's late-night practice sessions happen to overlap with the naturally highest acetylcholine surge of the night. The timing isn't accidental, even if the original practitioners didn't know the mechanism. Consider this. In a 2018 double-blind study of 121 participants, the acetylcholinesterase inhibitor galantamine increased lucid dream incidence from 14% with placebo to 42% at 8 milligrams. A clear dose-response relationship. Galantamine works by slowing the breakdown of acetylcholine, extending the cholinergic conditions that favor lucid dreaming. And here's a quiet detail. Ancient Asian herbal traditions used Huperzia serrata, which contains huperzine A compound with the same mechanism. Early practitioners may have unknowingly primed their dream yoga sessions with a plant that preserved acetylcholine in the brain. Both cholinergic and dopaminergic pathways support dream lucidity. Acetylcholine drives REM generation. Dopamine influences what happens once you're aware. The motivational salience, the ability to act with intention inside the dream. This maps onto dream yoga's higher stage instructions, where practitioners are told to transform dream content and face fears with equanimity. Structural MRI studies show that frequent lucid dreamers have larger gray matter volumes in the anterior prefrontal cortex and greater resting state functional connectivity between the anterior prefrontal cortex and the angular gyrus. Dream yoga's multi-year training may reshape prefrontal architecture over time, building the neurological hardware for sustained awareness during sleep. Multiple studies confirm that meditation practice is associated with higher lucid dream frequency. The mechanism appears to work through two pathways: altered REM sleep architecture, with increased time in late REM, and strengthened meta-awareness, the general cognitive ability to notice your own mental states. Dream yoga is, from a neuroscience perspective, a systematic meta-awareness training program designed to carry waking state self-monitoring into sleep. In 2023, the Mind and Life Institute began a research project combining behavioral investigation of Tibetan dreaming practices with neuroscience, monitoring advanced practitioners with EEG while enabling real-time two-way communication between experimenters and dreamers. And at the 2025 Cognitive Neuroscience Society meeting, researcher Ken Pauler presented novel sleep engineering techniques that explicitly connected to Indo-Tibetan Buddhist literature, exploring how sleep onset cognitive training maps to dream yoga principles. 1,000-year-old contemplative technology and modern EEG-verified sleep engineering, slowly converging on the same set of observations about what the sleeping brain can do. EEG recordings of long-term Tibetan Buddhist monk practitioners have revealed distinct transient modulations of neural response in the default mode network, along with large-scale network reconfigurations in both gamma and theta frequency bands during meditation. One study found that temporal frontal connectivity in the theta band was negatively correlated with years of meditation experience. The longer someone practiced, the less effort their brain needed to sustain the meditative state. A 2026 study at the Tibetan University of Sira J used dynamic causal modeling of EEG to show that long-term meditation alters effective connectivity within the default mode network and salience network. Experienced meditators showed enhanced self-referential processing in ways that novices did not. A 2024 pooled EEG study across multiple labs found that gamma power also increased in right temporoccipital regions, including the precuneus, at the exact moment of lucid dream onset. The precuneus is a region consistently associated with self-referential thinking, with metacognition, with the sense of being a self who knows what it's experiencing. Theta waves, 4 to 7 hertz, are amplified during the hypnagogic state, the threshold between waking and sleep. This is the transitional corridor that Milam practitioners explicitly cultivate as a site of entry into conscious dreaming. Alpha to theta EEG transitions, vivid sensory hallucinations that precede the dream itself, a narrow doorway between two worlds. These observations describe how dream yoga practitioners train their nervous systems to remain aware during sleep, and what modern instruments now detect when that awareness arises. We travel now from the mountains of Tibet to the shores of the Bosphorus, where a 5th century monastic order organized sleep itself into a rotating shift system. The Akometi. In Greek, the word is letter 1F00 cap omicron iota mu eta tau omicron iota. It means the Sleepless Ones. They were founded around 400 CE by a man named Alexander Achaemenes, a Roman military officer turned desert ascetic who sold his possessions after encountering the words of Matthew 19:21. He arrived in Constantinople with somewhere between 300 and 400 monks, and he established what was called Laus Perennis, perpetual praise, chanting that never stopped, not for an hour, not for a day, not for a century. The practice was literal fulfillment of Paul's instruction in 1 Thessalonians, pray without ceasing. But here's what most people miss when they hear about the Sleepless Ones. The monks themselves weren't personally sleepless. What was sleepless was the institution. The communities were divided into rotating choirs, Greek speakers, Latin speakers, Syriac speakers. These groups relieved one another continuously, so that at no moment in any hour was the chant interrupted. 6 choirs rotated in sequence throughout the day and night. Individual monks slept in shorter blocks between choir shifts. Not one long sleep, but segmented rest periods scattered through the 24-hour cycle. The mother house sat on the eastern shore of the Bosphorus. Local populations gave the monks their defining name. From the outside, the building never fell silent. That's all anyone needed to know. The biological reality of this schedule has been directly measured. In 2011, Dr. Isabelle Arnolf's research team at Pitié-Salpêtrière Hospital in Paris studied 5 monks and 5 nuns who had followed a split sleep night schedule, interrupted by 2 to 3 hours of matins prayers, for between 5 and 46 years without interruption. Think about that, 46 years, the same schedule every single night. Continuous 48-hour core body temperature recordings revealed something that doesn't appear in normal sleepers. The monks and nuns had developed a biphasic temperature rhythm, 2 dips instead of 1. The circadian clock had literally restructured itself to anticipate 2 sleep episodes per night. In standard sleepers, core temperature follows a single 24-hour cycle with 1 trough during the night. In the monks and nuns, a secondary plateau or rise of temperature appeared during mid-sleep, lasting approximately 296 minutes, plus or minus 39, corresponding precisely to the scheduled nocturnal awakening for the matins office. The monk's body temperature began rising approximately 85 minutes before the alarm sounded for matins. The circadian clock had fully internalized the artificial schedule and was physiologically anticipating it. The body knew. Before the bell rang, the body already knew. The monks reported earlier sleep onset, around 8:05 p.m. on average, and earlier offset, around 6:27 a.m. They slept about 6.5 hours total compared to 7.6 hours for controls. Their biphasic temperature profile closely resembled the profile observed when healthy volunteers are experimentally placed in a short 10-hour photo period. This mirrors what researchers now believe was the natural sleep pattern of pre-industrial humans during long winter nights. A first sleep, a waking interval, then a second sleep. The Archimedes liturgical schedule may have preserved a pre-industrial human chronobiology lost to the modern world. Polyphasic sleep, splitting rest into multiple shorter bouts, isn't pathological. Comparative biology shows it's the rule, not the exception, across the animal kingdom. The monks weren't breaking their biology. They were recovering a more ancient pattern that artificial lighting erased. But the schedule had neurological consequences. Some of them were unsettling. The Arnolf study documented that monks experienced more sleep-related hallucinations than controls. 6 of 10 monks reported hypnagogic experiences, including, and this is a direct quote from the study, a nightmarish, prolonged feeling of a demoniac presence at sleep onset after matins. This is a predictable neurological consequence of the split schedule. Abrupt awakenings disrupt sleep inertia. Re-entering sleep after the liturgy plunges the brain through NREM stage 1's hypnagogic corridor at high cognitive arousal, producing vivid and often intense imagery that monks interpreted as encounters with spiritual forces. More frequent sleep onsets mean more hypnagogic transitions per 24-hour cycle, more chances for the brain to generate involuntary images at the boundary of consciousness, more visions. All monks in the study reported dreaming more frequently after the matins prayer than before it, and 6 of 10 reported being able to pray while dreaming. Re-entering REM after the midnight office, with the mind saturated by liturgical content, seeded dream imagery with that exact content. The experience of praying in dreams is neurologically the consolidation of procedural and semantic memory happening in post-matins REM sleep. The Psalms traveled from the chapel into the dream. The chanting itself produced measurable biological effects. Sustained vocal resonance, the kind produced by hours of liturgical singing, stimulates the vagus nerve through its auricular and laryngeal branches. A study by Inbaraj and colleagues found that just 5 minutes of loud Om chanting increased high-frequency heart rate variability, indicating a shift to parasympathetic dominance. Two mechanisms at work: vibrational stimulation of vagal branches and a decrease in respiratory frequency to approximately 6 breaths per minute. The Acomedes hours of relay chanting were, in biological terms, continuous self-administered vagus nerve stimulation. Brain imaging of sustained chanting revealed limbic-paralimbic deactivation, the same pattern observed with clinical transcutaneous vagus nerve stimulation used for depression and epilepsy. Hours of chanting progressively quieted the amygdala, hippocampus, and thalamus, opening the brain toward the emotionally neutral states described in the monks' mystical writings. Each cycle of sustained chanting naturally lengthens the exhalation phase of breathing. This extended exhale directly activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest arm governed by cranial nerve X. After hours of relay chanting, returning monks would enter sleep in a state of deep parasympathetic dominance, with lowered cortisol, reduced noradrenaline, and increased adenosine sensitivity. Adenosine, the primary homeostatic sleep pressure molecule, accumulates in the basal forebrain proportionally to time spent awake and in intense cognitive activity. Monks who chanted psalms for 2 to 3 hours in the middle of the night accumulated elevated adenosine, which then suppressed arousal-promoting neurons and enhanced sleep-promoting activity in the ventrolateral preoptic nucleus. The plunge into deep sleep after matins would have been unusually rapid and intense. This 2011 study remains the only peer-reviewed evidence of a religious practice durably remodeling the human circadian clock. The suprachiasmatic nucleus, the master circadian pacemaker in the hypothalamus, had physically restructured its 24-hour temperature oscillation to accommodate a liturgical schedule designed 1,500 years ago. A 2023 interdisciplinary paper on Byzantine Orthodox monastic timekeeping confirmed that these schedules aligned worship, silence, fasting, and rest with natural light-dark cycles in ways that modern neuroscience would describe as optimizing circadian entrainment. The monks lacked any concept of the suprachiasmatic nucleus or melatonin, but their empirically derived schedule-synchronized sleep pressure, melatonin onset, and cortisol nadir, with a precision that modern sleep researchers would find hard to improve upon. Now we move south and backward in time, to the healing temples of ancient Greece, where sleep itself was the medicine. At the Asclepion of Epidaurus, patients underwent a ritual called enkomesis, sacred incubation. They slept in a dormitory called the Abaton, waiting for healing dreams sent by the god Asclepius. The Abaton was located north of the main temple, a porticoed building with a long, shaded colonnaded hall. Entry required prior purification, fasting, and sacrifice, a multi-day protocol whose biological effects prepared the nervous system for what was to come. Patients lay upon animal skins called a cline. That word, cline, is the etymological root of the modern word clinic. The skins were placed directly on the stone floor of the Abaton. On cool Mediterranean nights, that stone floor maintained a temperature well below the patient's body temperature. This matters more than it sounds. Your core body temperature must drop by roughly 1 to 2 degrees Celsius for sleep to begin. The stone floor was doing what a modern cooling mattress pad does, pulling heat from the body, accelerating sleep onset. The architects who designed the Tibetan may not have known about thermoregulation, but the building worked as if they did. The Tibetan was deliberately dark, dim natural stone, partial underground positioning relative to the main structures. An absence of artificial light created near-total light deprivation during night hours. Darkness is the primary stimulus for pineal melatonin synthesis. Even 10 lux of artificial light can suppress melatonin by 50%. Patients sleeping in stone darkness for multiple nights would have experienced dramatically elevated melatonin, chemically deepening sleep and intensifying dreams. And melatonin doesn't just build in one night. The darkroom protocol gradually increased melatonin levels across successive nights of incubation. Melatonin is synthesized from tryptophan through serotonin, and as it accumulated night after night, it suppressed sympathetic nervous system activity, lowered cortisol, and shifted the entire neuroendocrine profile toward deep restorative sleep, the state in which the immune system, lymphatic clearance, and memory consolidation are most active. Patients arriving at the temple underwent mandatory fasting before the incubation sleep. After 24 to 72 hours of caloric deprivation, the body shifts from glucose metabolism to ketone metabolism. Beta-hydroxybutyrate rises in the brain, binding to GABAB receptors with effects structurally similar to GHB. This produces mild euphoria, appetite suppression, and a dreamlike mental clarity. An endogenous pharmacological preparation for visionary dreaming, generated by the patient's own body in response to hunger. Fasting also elevates brain endocannabinoid levels, particularly within the hypothalamus and limbic forebrain. This shift increases the calming and anxiety-reducing quality of sleep onset states. For a frightened, ill patient lying alone in a dark stone hall, waiting for a god who might or might not arrive, this biochemical shift was exactly what was needed to let go of waking consciousness and surrender to sacred sleep. The sacred springs of the Epidaurus sanctuary were described as having healing properties, and pilgrims drank from them as part of the preparatory ritual. Cold, mineral-rich spring water lowers core body temperature and provides magnesium, which modulates NMDA receptors and acts as a natural sedative. It also triggers the vagal reflex through the enteric nervous system. Genuine physiological sedation that enhanced the probability of a healing dream. The inscriptions at Epidaurus record specific types of encounters. Patients expected concrete visions of the god or his sacred animals, snakes and dogs, performing surgery, touching, or licking the diseased body part inside the dream. Some inscriptions describe patients waking to find their symptoms resolved. Others describe the god leaving instructions that temple attendants helped interpret. Clay models of afflicted body parts were offered as votives: a terracotta knee, a clay eye, a ceramic stomach, an ancient medical imaging system shaped from earth and fired in a kiln. The acoustics of the Epidaurus complex weren't accidental. Research by Nico de Klerk and Cindy Decusser at Georgia Tech found that the stepped stone rows of the Epidaurus Theater act as an acoustic high-pass filter, suppressing low-frequency background noise below about 500 hertz while passing the higher frequencies of the human voice. The ancient Roman architect Vitruvius wrote that his Greek predecessors used the rules of mathematics and the method of music to make voices rise more clearly and sweetly. This was deliberate acoustic engineering in sacred spaces. The Tibetan stone construction, with its specific ceiling heights and enclosed dimensions, would naturally produce standing resonances similar to other sacred stone chambers documented across the ancient world. These resonances can amplify specific frequency bands in the human voice and priestly chants, contributing to entrainment effects that prepared patients for sleep. Adjacent to the Asclepian tradition, the oracle of Trophonius at Lebedea required suppliants to descend into an artificial underground cave. Before descending, they drank from two springs, one called Lethe, forgetting, one called Mnemosyne, memory. Inside the cave, they were stripped of every normal sensory anchor. A cognitive science analysis described the result: alteration of consciousness induced by sensory deprivation produced vortex and out-of-body experiences, hallucinations, and the sensation of direct communication with supernatural beings. The British Journal of Psychiatry described it as a kind of shock treatment associated with sensory deprivation, an ancient protocol for the forced induction of extreme altered states. Taoist and yogic traditions preserved detailed accounts of what happens during extended darkness retreats. Days 1 through 3 bring melatonin accumulation and deep quiet. Days 3 through 5 produce pinoline, an endogenous beta-carboline with properties resembling a monoamine oxidase inhibitor, enabling waking visions. Days 6 through 12 are described as territory producing transcendental experiences. Peer-reviewed science hasn't confirmed endogenous DMT production during darkness retreats, but the progressive neurochemical sequence through melatonin to pinoline is biologically plausible. These temple practices, the darkness, the fasting, the cold stone, the acoustic design, the mineral water formed a system. Each element independently shifted the body's neurochemistry toward deep sleep and vivid dreaming. Together, they created conditions that modern sleep science would recognize as nearly optimal for inducing hypnagogic and REM state experiences. The priests didn't know about melatonin or ketosis or vagal tone, but the architecture knew. Now we step outside the familiar temples and follow the trail of similar practices into less documented places. Beneath the island of Malta, there's a structure carved from limestone more than 5,000 years ago. The Hal-Saflieni Hypogeum is the oldest known underground ritual complex in the world, dating to approximately 3,600 BCE. Deep within it lies a small space called the Oracle Room. Acoustic measurements of this room revealed a double resonance frequency at 70 Hz and 114 Hz. When a male voice is tuned to these frequencies, the sound echoes for up to 8 seconds throughout the hypogeum. Research at the Clinical Neurophysiology Unit of the University of Trieste confirmed that exposure to tones in the 90 to 120 Hz range physically alters EEG patterns. The 110 Hz frequency specifically reduces activity in the left prefrontal cortex, the region associated with language, logic, and analytical thinking, while increasing activity in the right hemisphere, which processes emotion, creativity, and spatial awareness. Loss of time perception, difficulty speaking, heightened emotional states, that's what subjects reported. The same resonance appears across the world, in structures with no contact between their builders. The inner chamber of Newgrange, Ireland's great Neolithic passage tomb built around 3,200 BCE, resonates at 110 Hz. Chun Quoit in England resonates at 113 Hz, Whale and Smithy at 112. The King's Chamber in the Great Pyramid at Giza, 112 Hz. A study by Paul Devereux and colleagues found that all major Neolithic megalithic structures in England and Ireland share primary resonance in the 95 to 120 Hz range. EEG testing confirmed that this frequency band shifts brain activity, with each individual responding most strongly to a personal resonant frequency somewhere within the 90 to 120 Hz window. Ritual chanting in stone chambers used natural standing wave amplification to entrain brainwave states conducive to trance. The underground stone galleries of Chavindahuantar in Peru, dating to about 1200 BCE, have also been measured at 110 Hz resonance. Andean scholarship documents the role of sound in sacred sites, with sanctuaries designed around auditory experiences that shaped rituals and beliefs. Ritual participants in total darkness with sustained stone resonance would have entered theta and hypnagogic states rapidly. In a 2008 study at UCLA, neuroscientist Ian Cook demonstrated that exposure to 110 Hz measurably alters EEG patterns. The left prefrontal cortex shows reduced activity, while right hemisphere regions show increased activity. Ancient builders appear to have discovered this effect empirically. By constructing chambers and listening to the sounds they produced, they could have noticed that specific geometries produced unusual subjective states. Over generations, sacred spaces converged on optimal dimensions. Systematic neuroacoustic experimentation predating modern science by thousands of years. 5,000 years apart, separate continents, no contact between the builders, and the same frequency within a few hertz of each other in every sacred chamber. Let that settle. In India, a practice called Yoga Nidra, yogic sleep, has been passed down in oral tradition for roughly 3,000 years. Yoga Nidra involves lying in savasana, corpse pose, and following verbal instructions to achieve a state of consciousness at the threshold between waking and sleep while maintaining awareness. EEG recordings confirm that Yoga Nidra produces a blend of alpha waves between 8 and 12 Hz and theta waves between 4 and 8 Hz. This is the hypnagogic corridor, the narrow passage between waking and sleeping. A 2024 fMRI study published in Nature Scientific Reports with 61 participants showed that experienced meditators exhibit notable default mode network decoupling during Yoga Nidra that controls do not. The degree of decoupling correlated with cumulative meditation hours. Yoga Nidra lowers cortisol. It activates the parasympathetic nervous system. Practitioners describe it as equivalent to 4 hours of ordinary sleep compressed into a single session. And then there was the demonstration at the Menninger Clinic. We mentioned Swami Rama earlier. His disciple, Swami Veda Bharati, later showed he could produce near-continuous theta and delta waves even with eyes open and while speaking. The Yoga Nidra state appears to involve a dissociation between EEG-measured cortical activity and subjective awareness that standard neuroscience can't yet account for. Among multiple Native American nations, Arapaho, Mi'kmaq, Lakota Sioux, and others, the vision quest involves 4 or more days of fasting, isolation, and exposure in wilderness, or a sacred circle of stones. The seeker awaits dreams and visions while remaining alone until a genuine vision arrives. The biology is layered. Multi-day fasting elevates adenosine, increasing sleep pressure and dream intensity. The brain shifts toward ketone metabolism, producing mild euphoria and perceptual alteration. Progressive sleep deprivation amplifies hypnagogic hallucinations at the threshold of exhausted sleep, and the combination of dehydration, cold exposure, and caloric deficit triggers norepinephrine and cortisol spikes that, paradoxically, enhance REM rebound and dramatically increase dream vividness when sleep finally comes. The vision arrives not despite the suffering. It arrives because of the specific neurochemical state the suffering creates. Kivas, the circular, semi-subterranean stone chambers used by ancestral Pueblones and modern Hopi and Zuni peoples, served ceremonial and spiritual functions. Participants enter through a roof hole by ladder and sit in a circle around a central fire, near a small hole in the floor called a sipapu, representing the portal to the underworld. The enclosed circular geometry, stone walls, and gradually depleting oxygen, the fire consuming available air in a sealed space, combined with monotonous drumming creates multi-channel physiological entrainment. Elevated carbon dioxide shifts breathing and alters blood pH. Drumming at 4 to 7 hertz may entrain theta brainwave activity, facilitating dissociative hypnagogic states. In Aboriginal Australian communities, among the Mardu and others, dreams carry equal or greater weight than waking events. Traveling in dream spirit form serves as a vehicle for revelation. The dreaming, Jukirpa, isn't a metaphor. It's a living domain accessed through sleep. These communities practice group sleep alongside extended ceremony, storytelling, and singing that preceded sleep onset. Rich semantic memory priming for REM dream content. Modern research confirms that pre-sleep mental content strongly shapes dream imagery through memory reactivation. Ancient Egypt built dream temples, Purank, adjacent to major temple complexes, particularly those dedicated to Serapis and Imhotep. Patients fasted, prayed, and underwent ritual purification before sleeping in cooled and darkened inner chambers, while priests performed low chants. Incense containing frankincense and myrrh may have delivered bioactive compounds, including boswellic acids and furinosquiterpenes, into the air of the sleeping chamber. In Babylon, around 1900 BCE, the Gyula healing goddess temple at Isin contained underground dream chambers with a stepped descent, requiring dreamers to navigate 7 descending levels before reaching the incubation space. Cuneiform tablets document specific incense formulas burned before and during incubation. The 7-level descent functioned as a structured hypnotic induction protocol. Each step further removed the dreamer from ordinary environmental cues, progressively depleting orienting reflexes and amplifying suggestion. The Babylonians also had a goddess of dream interpretation, Nanch, whose symbol was a vessel with water and a fish. Dream interpreters called Shabru underwent professional training programs requiring decades of study to classify thousands of dream symbols into interpretive frameworks. This is the world's earliest documented theory of something neuroscience now calls REM sleep memory consolidation. The recognition that dream content is systematically interpretable, that the brain uses dream imagery to process waking life information and emotional experience. The Norse Verlva, a seeress, practiced Sather, a form of shamanic prophecy. She sat upon a raised platform on a cushion of hen feathers and entered trance while a specific song called Vardlokur was sung by attendants. Monotonous rhythmic stimulation, particularly drumming at 4 to 7 hertz, can drive cortical theta entrainment through auditory pathways. Prolonged theta without the arousal of waking beta produces the hypnagogic dissociative state, boundary dissolution. temporal distortion. Vivid involuntary imagery. The raised platform with soft cushioning reduced proprioceptive feedback, and the social sonic environment, group singing surrounding the practitioner, provided acoustic containment. In the Sufi tradition, the whirling dervishes practiced sama, continuous 360-degree spinning for up to 1 hour without experiencing vertigo. MRI scans of 10 Sufi whirling dervishes showed notably thinner cortical areas in the hubs of the default mode network and in motion and body perception areas, including the right dorsolateral prefrontal cortex and left V5-MT visual motion area. Prolonged vestibular overstimulation causes cerebellar-mediated adaptation that silences the inner ear's normal contribution to the sense of body ownership. As the default mode network thins from years of practice, the sense of self-boundary dissolves during spinning. The Sufis call this state fana, annihilation of the self. Ego dissolution without pharmacology, achieved through spinning. These observations describe what practitioners across dozens of traditions actually did with their bodies, and what those physical actions produced in the nervous system. Now we look at the hormones, the brain waves, and the neurochemistry that modern instruments detect beneath these ancient practices. Long-term Vipassana meditators show measurably higher serum melatonin than matched controls. One study found median serum melatonin of 18.3 picograms per milliliter in meditators, compared to 15.6 in controls. The difference was statistically meaningful and positively correlated with years of practice. The same study found median serum serotonin of 149 nanograms per milliliter in meditators versus 118.1 in controls. Since serotonin is the direct biochemical precursor to melatonin, the conversion pathway runs from serotonin to N-acetylserotonin to melatonin. Elevated serotonin provides a larger substrate pool for pineal melatonin production, particularly during darkness. Ancient meditators who maintained disciplined sleep-wake cycles would have developed this neurochemical advantage progressively over years of practice. A Norwegian study of 27 advanced male meditators confirmed that baseline plasma melatonin was higher in meditators than controls, 4.9 picograms per milliliter versus 3.1. But here's an unexpected detail. Melatonin decreased during long meditation sessions themselves. The researchers speculated that the meditative state may temporarily suppress pineal secretion while building reservoir capacity for nighttime release. The pineal gland synthesizes approximately 30 micrograms of melatonin per day under normal conditions. The synthesis pathway passes from tryptophan through 5-HTP, then serotonin, then melatonin. Melatonin reaches peak synthesis between midnight and 4 a.m. That time window, midnight to 4 in the morning, is precisely the window targeted by most ancient nocturnal spiritual practices. The Acomedes Matins, the dream yogi's late-night visualization, the temple incubation's darkest hours. Cortisol is the primary stress hormone and the main neurochemical block to deep sleep. It maintains noradrenergic arousal, suppresses adenosine sensitivity, and prevents the sustained delta power generation needed for slow-wave sleep. Any ancient practice that reliably lowered cortisol, chanting, prostration, communal prayer, bathing in mineral springs, was biologically accelerating the transition to healing sleep. Yoga Nidra activates the parasympathetic nervous system and drops cortisol levels. High cortisol keeps the brain in alert mode. Drop it, and the body opens toward rest. Adenosine is the universal currency of sleep debt. It accumulates in the basal forebrain during wakefulness proportionally to metabolic activity. It inhibits arousal-promoting neurons and activates sleep-promoting neurons in the ventrolateral preoptic nucleus. The multi-day preparatory rituals that preceded Asclepian incubation, Egyptian dream temple sleep, Babylonian oracle consultation, all involved extended wakefulness, travel, fasting, ritual baths, night ceremonies. They built up a powerful adenosine debt that, when the supplicant finally lay down, produced unusually rapid and deep sleep. A 2026 review noted that lucid dreaming therapy works best when patients are aroused from high-alpha REM sleep, when prefrontal temporoparietal connectivity is highest. Ancient priests who woke patients from the abaton after specific time intervals may have intuitively optimized for this window. The hypnagogic state, the transition from wakefulness to sleep, is characterized by involuntary phosphenes, geometric form constants, figurative imagery, and vivid auditory phenomena. Hypnagogic hallucinations have been reported at approximately 86% prevalence across surveyed populations. Nearly everyone experiences them. Most people don't notice. The EEG of hypnagogia resembles REM sleep more than NREM stage 2, supporting the hypothesis that hypnagogia involves what researchers call covert REM, elements of REM dream generation intruding into the wakefulness-sleep transition. Spontaneous hypnagogic images correlate with specific EEG stages where the brainwave pattern flattens and then produces theta ripples between 4 and 8 hertz. Every ancient spiritual practice we've discussed tonight targets this threshold. Asclepian incubation, dream yoga visualization, the Trophonius descent, the Egyptian dark chamber, the Sather trance, the vision quest at the point of exhaustion. All of them reliably deliver the practitioner to the hypnagogic threshold, where the boundary between the controlled and the involuntary dissolves, and where the nervous system generates its own inner world. What these traditions call the doorway to the spirit world, modern sleep science calls stage N1 sleep onset. The same biology, observed through different instruments. Now we pass through a quieter set of observations about the specific physical conditions that spiritual traditions converged on, and what modern biology says about each one. Body temperature must drop by 1 to 3 degrees Fahrenheit for deep sleep to begin. Many monastic sleeping environments, stone floors, mountain caves, unheated dormitories produce this cooling naturally. The monks didn't need a thermostat. The architecture did the work. Light exposure inhibits melatonin production. Monks who practiced in windowless meditation cells or entered dark retreats for weeks at a time inadvertently maximized melatonin release. The pineal gland, left undisturbed by photons, responded by producing more of the hormone that deepens sleep and enriches dreams. Red and near-infrared light wavelengths trigger specific cellular adaptations. Firelit vigils and candlelit prayer rooms produced narrow-spectrum light that modern research now studies for therapeutic effects. The warm glow of a candle does not suppress melatonin the way blue-white electric light does. The monks' refusal to adopt brighter illumination was, accidentally, a photobiological optimization. Melatonin release duration changes across seasons. In longer winter nights, the body produces melatonin for a longer stretch. Contemplatives who followed natural light cycles, rising with the sun, sleeping when it set, aligned their biology with these seasonal shifts without knowing the mechanism. Their bodies simply tracked the light. Sensory deprivation, silence, darkness, fasting, reduces cortical noise. The brain, deprived of its usual input, turns inward and amplifies whatever signals remain. Several spiritual traditions prescribed exactly these conditions before their most important rituals. The pattern is consistent across millennia and continents. Reduce external stimulation, and the internal world grows louder. Viewed through a biological lens, the major contemplative traditions appear as systematic protocols for circadian rhythm optimization. Dream yoga targets cholinergic REM peaks. The Akometi restructured biphasic sleep cycles. Asclepian incubation exploited melatonin elevation through darkness. The Vision Quest tapped into adenosine accumulation and REM rebound. Yoga Nidra trained voluntary entry into parasympathetic delta states. Different traditions, different centuries, different languages for what happened, but the same nervous system responding to the same physical conditions, producing the same altered states. We reach the edges now, the fringe practices, the forgotten rituals, the traditions that push the body to its outer limits. Simeon Stylites was a monk who reportedly spent 37 years on a stone pillar near Aleppo. He slept in brief intervals while standing or leaning against a railing. The pillar was originally about 3 meters tall. Over the decades, it was raised to approximately 15 meters. He preached to the crowds who gathered below. He advised emperors by letter, and he never came down. The sleep deprivation alone would have produced persistent hypnagogic hallucinations. The exposure to sun, wind, cold, and heat would have subjected his circadian system to constant disruption. His body would have entered states that modern sleep medicine associates with psychosis. Yet the historical accounts describe him as lucid, articulate, and coherent across decades. The Stylite tradition spread. Other monks followed his example. Columns appeared across Syria, Palestine, and Constantinople, each one a human being standing on stone in the open air, sleeping in fragments, reporting visions that their communities treated as prophecy. In the Sufi tradition, dream interpretation, Tabir treated sleep visions as messages requiring trained decoding. It wasn't casual guidance over breakfast. It was a practice with its own schools, texts, and lineage of interpreters. The interpreter was a professional trained over years to read the symbolic grammar of the dreaming mind. Decades of study to classify thousands of dream symbols into interpretive frameworks. Hermetic and theosophical tradition described the soul as partially departing the body during sleep, traveling through astral planes that could be mapped and navigated with training. Whether or not you accept the ontological claims, the phenomenological descriptions match what modern research documents during out-of-body experiences in hypnagogia and REM. Altered proprioception, visual imagery of floating or flying, a subjective sense of separation from the physical body. Some ascetic traditions used deliberate sleep deprivation not as punishment, but as a threshold. The point where ordinary perception breaks down was considered a doorway. The hallucinations that arrive after 48 or 72 hours of wakefulness weren't symptoms to be treated. They were destinations to be reached. Across all these traditions, the pattern repeats. Alter the body's physical state through cold, darkness, stillness, or rhythm, and the mind enters territory it doesn't visit during ordinary waking life. The method varies, the result converges. Byzantine Orthodox monastic timekeeping, studied in a 2023 interdisciplinary paper, demonstrates that monastic schedules aligned worship, silence, fasting, and rest with natural light-dark cycles in ways that modern neuroscience would describe as optimizing circadian entrainment. The monks lacked any concept of the suprachiasmatic nucleus or melatonin, but their empirically derived schedule synchronized sleep pressure, melatonin onset, and cortisol nadir with remarkable precision. These rituals span 5,000 years and dozens of civilizations, yet they converge on the same small set of physical conditions: darkness, reduced temperature, rhythmic sound, stillness. Modern sleep science is now measuring what temple priests and mountain monks once described in metaphor. The EEG traces what the mystic called illumination. The thermometer records what the ascetic called surrender. The hormone assay quantifies what the healer called divine intervention. The instruments differ. The biology is the same. The brain during sleep is not idle. It consolidates. It repairs. It reorganizes. The glymphatic system flushes metabolic waste from between the neurons. Memory traces are strengthened or pruned. Emotional experiences from the day are reprocessed and woven into older patterns. The ancients who treated sleep as sacred activity weren't wrong about its importance. They were only working with a different vocabulary for the mechanism. A Greek patient sleeping on animal skins in the Tibetan at Epidaurus. A Tibetan yogi visualizing a luminous syllable at the throat chakra. A Byzantine monk rising at midnight to chant psalms in a stone chapel. A Pueblo elder descending into a kiva by ladder in the firelight. A Norse seeress sitting on feather cushions while attendants sang around her in the dark. Each one was altering the same nervous system. Each one was crossing the same threshold between waking life and something the waking mind doesn't normally have access to. Tonight, as you listen, your body temperature is slowly dropping. Melatonin is accumulating behind your eyes. The pineal gland is converting serotonin into the molecule that will carry you towards sleep. Your breathing is gradually slowing. The parasympathetic nervous system is quietly gaining ground. The same biological process that once filled temple dormitories with healing dreams is unfolding now. In whatever room you're lying in whatever darkness surrounds you. You don't need a stone floor or a sacred spring. You don't need a lineage holder or a 7-level descent. The machinery is already running. It has been running every night of your life. The practices described tonight were attempts to understand this machinery, to honor it, to work with it, to use it as a doorway into something the waking mind can't reach on its own. Some of those practices survived into the present day. Most didn't. The Akhomedi monasteries are ruins on the Bosphorus shore. The Tibetan at Epidaurus is open to the sky, its stone floor scattered with wildflowers. The oracle room in the Maltese hypogeum is closed to visitors, its resonance measured but no longer inhabited by human voices. But the biology continues, unchanged in the dark. The same 40 hertz gamma burst that lit up a dream yogi's prefrontal cortex 1,000 years ago fires in any dreamer who becomes lucid tonight. The same biphasic temperature rhythm that the Akhomedi monks developed still emerges in anyone who sleeps in 2 segments. The same melatonin pathway that flooded the Tibetan with healing dreams is synthesizing its quiet molecule in your pineal gland right now. The traditions pass into history. The biology does not. It continues tonight, as it continued last night, as it will continue for as long as human beings close their eyes and cross the threshold between waking and sleep. The room is dark, your breathing is slow. The ancient machinery hums on. Stay tuned for more updates.